Today on Homeworthy, we're in Birmingham, Alabama, visiting the vibrant home of floral designer Mary Cox Brown. When a tree fell on her house just before Christmas, it sparked a full renovation that transformed her space into a joyful reflection of her personality and style.
These curtains were in my existing living room. I actually bought them from a designer who was moving spaces, and they survived the tree falling on my house. And so I knew I wanted to put them back because I love them, but also because they kind of tell a story.
Filled with bold color, playful pattern, and an eclectic mix of vintage treasures and family heirlooms, Mary Cox's home captures her maximalist spirit and love of beauty in every corner.
I don't shy away from flowers or color. More is always more. I like a layered table, you know, like a linen, and I want a placemat, then I want a napkin. I want silver, you know, I want a big centerpiece, and then I want little bud vases. I like all of it. And I do think that's what makes a table interesting.
To watch their full episode ad-free, scan the QR code on screen or click the join button below.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Mary Cox. Welcome to my home in Alabama.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see, I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
Hey y'all. I'm Mary Cox Brown, a floral designer in Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome to my home. About 2 years ago, my neighbor's tree during a storm in December fell on top of my house and smushed it. I was in the house. I was asleep in my bedroom, used to be on that side of the house. I was asleep in my bed. We'd had a wedding that day. I'd worked. We'd been decorating houses for Christmas. Like, I was exhausted, and I slept right through it. I say I slept through it. My friends all think I have like blocked it out. But I just started hearing water in the house. And I wandered down the hallway and out in my pajamas, and there was a tree in my living room, literally. And when this tree fell on my house, it really just smashed the roof. But what caused us to have to do this entire gut and remodel is that we discovered that the house had asbestos. And so everything had to go. Within 3 weeks of the tree falling on this house, the entire house was gutted and cleaned out, and I had to start all over again. And it was a very daunting task. And so that's kind of how we arrived at putting this house back together. Not really because I wanted to, but because I had to. And I'd lived here for 15 years before that and never really had even considered remodeling or redoing this house. And so for about 2 years, I lived in an apartment with about a quarter of the things that I have, and I feel like that's given me such a great appreciation for my things. Now being back in my house and unpacking them again, it's like having all these treasures back with me. It's almost like Christmas presents, unwrapping them again. To be really honest, I didn't have a vision going into it. I was so overwhelmed. I really was very paralyzed for months. I had, thankfully, have really good friends and a wonderful family that kind of carried me through the first month. I was very lucky. I brought in a person who's now a friend, Katrina Porter, and she came in and rethought the entire layout of the house, which I never would have thought. And she took where my bedroom is now was my kitchen, and this was where we're sitting now was a bedroom. And so she changed the entire footprint of the house And that is the biggest thing of people that have been in my house before this and then been in my house now, is the difference in the way that it's laid out. It's like a very traditional Homewood cottage in Birmingham. Like there's so many houses that look exactly like this. But suddenly when you come in, the inside is so different from everyone else's because she, Katrina, thought through how to really maximize space. I like how small my house is. I like how cozy it is. But having someone like Katrina who really rethought the floor plan was the biggest gift. But really, like where it comes to design, I just kind of pick what I like. And that's like kind of my motto in life, is if I like it, I'll find a spot for it. And sometimes that's kind of chaotic, but usually it seems to work out for me. Welcome to my living room. When we started to redesign this room, we clearly were thinking about the color pink. I bought this fabric from a designer that was selling like a remnant, so I only had 2 yards of it. This was probably one of the main starting off points, but these curtains were in my existing living room. I actually bought them from a designer who was moving spaces, and they survived the tree falling on my house. And so I knew I wanted to put them back because I love them, but also because they kind of tell a story. So this is kind of where I started with my living room, were these colors, but when it comes to mixing patterns, I really just pick the things I like. I do love fabric. I like trims. So I just, if I like it, I buy it, which is probably a really bad thing in life, which is probably why I have so many things. But I tend to try to just make it all go together. I love a mixture of textures. So I like having velvet and linen. I love this Ushak rug. I bought it from a lady in Birmingham, and it also survived the storm. It got cleaned twice and cleaned up perfectly. I think that's why you buy a really nice rug, because it will clean. And it will be, they say it's forever, and they mean it. It can go through a tornado, and then you can still have it. My art is probably my most favorite thing about my house. And I bought this painting here from an artist from Memphis, Emyo, and it is a painting of a Cuban flower market. She had a show in Birmingham, gosh, probably 10 years ago now. It was the first thing I saw when I walked in, and I bought it immediately. One, because it's flower market, clearly, and 2, because of all the color. She tends to paint in this color palette, and it's something, if I could own 15 of them, I'd never get sick of them. I wish I had one on every wall in my house. I do love like frame pictures, which I think some people don't, but I do. I like to have all my memories out. This is a precious little head that my friend Reagan gave me from a trip to Italy. I bought this sweet little man in Switzerland on spring break with my godchildren last year. We went to Switzerland. You know, I do. I like all my knickknacks. It's really bad. I mean, I'm very much my mother's child. The 2 pieces of art that are over here, I bought from Studio by the Tracks in Birmingham, which is a nonprofit that helps people with autism who create art, and you buy the art from them. So this is from a woman named Linda. They are like my 2, probably one of my 2 most prized possessions. I was so worried that they were ruined in the storm because they were on this wall right here, and the tree came in, but luckily they were like missed by an inch. And I immediately took them off the wall that night in my pajamas and my raincoat and put them very safely away. They're really important to me. And then I also have this like framed shadow box. So my family's from New Orleans. My mom is, all my cousins are. My sister now lives there. And at Mardi Gras, the crews have favor pins. Every year you get a new one, and they usually just sit in a drawer. And my aunt has probably like 2,000 of them probably at this point. And she has them in shadow boxes all over the tables at her house in New Orleans. And I've always been so jealous of that. So I found the shadow box at a thrift store and started putting my pins in it, or picking the ones I like the best. They're really like works of art. They're so beautiful. And every year I add another one to it. It's kind of falling apart, but maybe I have to get another one soon. But I love it because it's different from just being a painting. That's really interesting to look at. It clearly holds a memory for me of all the fun Mardi Gras we've spent in New Orleans. These little strawberries were a gift for my 40th birthday from my dear friend James Farmer, who's one of my best friends. He sent them to me. We like to say we're 2 peas in a pod, but now we're 2 strawberries in a patch. And he sent them to me for my birthday, which they're so, I love here. I mean, clearly I love little things, little trinkets. And he sent these to me. I love them. I love a coffee table book. You'll see I have like a gabillion all over the house. Oh, this is a needlepoint pillow. My sister-in-law made it for me. She's like the most unreal needlepointer, but I bought the canvas at the beginning of COVID because I had convinced myself I was going to become a needlepointer. And I did like 2 rows and was like, this is not for me. And I gave it to her just for her to have it. And she finished it and gave it to me for Christmas like 2 years ago. So on the back, she monogrammed it. So Kitty Rogers Brown loves Mary Cox Brown. Anyways, it's so sweet. She surprised me with it and I love it. Everybody always asks about that. The funniest thing that people always are drawn to in this room, which is this cheap book that someone gave me off Amazon. This is like my ultimate party trick. It's called the Fortune Telling Birthday Book. And it has like a little blurb on every person's birthday. And when someone new comes over, we sit and read it. Or like the other night, people came for supper and we read everybody's children's or their husbands or, their mothers. And it's funny how like, it's pretty accurate. Maybe too accurate on some people, but this is like our party trick. It's always out. People are always looking in it. The top piece of art I bought in Provence, probably 3 years ago, of a lavender field. I bought it. I can't even remember what little village in Provence, but I just loved it. It wasn't expensive. And I packed it in my suitcase and brought it home. And then the middle piece of art is from my friend Mason. Painted it for me after his mom died, as a thank you for helping with a lot of things. And I clearly treasure it. And we always said that mushrooms, come after a storm, after a long rain. So he painted mushrooms. And then the bottom piece of art was a gift from my dad. It is the Cahaba lilies, which the Cahaba River is here in Birmingham or in Alabama. And in spring, the parts of the river fill with these lilies. And it's like a sight to behold. And it's for a very short period of time. And he gave this to me. I think my sister and I he gave one to both my sister and I for Christmas one year, which I love it. When it comes to like hanging my art, again, there's not a lot of rhyme and reason to why I do it, except for that I grew up in a house with full walls of art. It wasn't just 1 piece per wall. It was 15 pieces per wall. My aunt and uncle live in New Orleans and have probably the greatest collection of New Orleans art. And we have 14-foot ceilings with paintings stacked from the baseboards to the crown molding. And so I think that I always wanted to achieve that. So I just keep adding things. I'm not afraid to put a nail in a wall and move it around. On this wall behind us, I have my TV because you have to have a television. But Katrina Porter, who helped me with design, thought to build it into the wall so that it was less noticeable. And I changed out the art on it. This piece of art is my most treasured piece of art. My godchild, McCrae, painted it, or it's not a painting, it's an oil pastel. Did it for me, and I'd asked for it for about 18 months, and she refused to give it to me, and then she just gave it to me last week, which is very sweet. She's an incredible artist. But the other little things are things I've just collected. Like, I bought these at a thrift store. I bought this off of an online site. So none of it really has a rhyme or reason. I bought this. It's so funny. Life's a drag when you have to keep bringing home the bacon. I just thought it was hilarious. I also have this random love of pigs. Who knows? Who knows why it's that way? But my house, I think, is very personal. Like I said, I think a lot of people don't like to put out pictures, but I like to have every memory out. I like to see all my people. Whether it's like pictures of me when I was little or pictures of us last year at Thanksgiving, I like to have all my people with me. I like a mix of old and new. I love this old sideboard and I have new chairs, or like a new sofa. I found these chairs. This is probably not, I probably shouldn't tell on myself, but they were sitting behind Salvation Army one time and it was about to rain and it was closed. And they were going to get rained on. And so I just took them. And I went back the next day and made a donation. I did steal them for a very short period of time. But They were just sitting out back, and then I had the lady who helps me recover things. We just recovered them, but they were such great chairs, and they were in really good shape. So I just took them. But so everything is not new in my house, nor is it all old. It's a really big mix of things. I love a lampshade, and I like an expensive lampshade, unfortunately. I do think a lampshade makes the lamp. This lamp is awesome. I bought it just like at not a thrift store, but like a big antique mall. I just saw it and loved it. And I put a white shade on it and lived with it like that for a while. And then we have a great shade place in Birmingham, Village Firefly, and I just took all these lamps in. And we went back and forth a lot on whether to match these two or to do two different shades, and I arrived at matching them, which I like. This lamp over here, I bought the lamp at Scott's in Atlanta. I have a pair of them. The other one's in a bedroom. But again, I don't like to put a white shade on things. It's real hard for me. I don't know that there's a white shade in this house. I love it. I mean, I'm not somebody that shies away from color, clearly. I love my pattern and I love my color. As you can see, my living room leads right into my kitchen. It's completely open. I am not a proponent of open spaces usually, but for the size of this house, it works perfectly. When we designed this kitchen, I did very little actually to design this kitchen. Katrina Porter, who helped me, she picked the cabinets, she picked the marble, all of those things. It's funny, just didn't really interest me, like what exactly the cabinet was gonna look like. I clearly was more concerned with what color the cabinets were gonna be, which took us forever to pick the pink. I wanted a pink kitchen. In my previous house, my kitchen was green, and I loved it. But I saw a picture of Maud Apatow, and she was sitting on the counter in her pink kitchen in New York, and I always had that picture in the back of my brain, but kind of was too scared to pull the trigger at first because it's a pink kitchen. It's a real choice. And a friend of mine who is great at design finally said to me, he said, it's just paint. Like, if someone wants to buy this house one day and hates pink cabinets, they'll just paint them. And I think that allowed me to want to really embrace the pink. And it does. It goes perfectly with everything I have in my house. It really does make sense. Green would have been much harder to pick because I have so many shades of green. But finding the right pink was really hard. We started out with the color that those cabinets were in that picture, but because I don't get a ton of light in my house, it read like really sandy colored. It didn't give you the pink you wanted. So I went through about probably like 30 pink paint samples, and we arrived on Sherwin-Williams Smoky Salmon. And I think a lot of people thought I was crazy. I know the people that built the cabinets thought I was crazy. They were two sweet men, older men, and they brought in the cabinets and I think thought, this is insane. We've never painted kitchen cabinets. I'm sure they've done like a bathroom vanity pink, but doing a whole kitchen pink, I think really perplexed them, if you will. But then they came back, they had to fix something like 2 months later, and they came back and they're like, oh, it makes so much sense now. We get it, which makes me feel better. My kitchen is, I'm not a huge cook. I'm a good cook, but I don't cook. It's just me, so I don't cook that much. But I do think it's really good, usable space. I wanted a big island. I wanted a place for people to gather. I bought these bar stools at Round Top and loved them. They were covered in a different fabric. And so I just had them, just the seats recovered, but I thought they were really fun. I mean, they're not like perfectly in the best shape, but I love them. I think the shape is so fun. I had marble countertops in my previous kitchen, and that was really important to me, but I definitely wanted something with a lot of veining, with a lot of interest. And so Katrina really helped pick that out and make it really special. My stove, I really never thought as much about a stove as I did until last year when I was picking this. I was just gonna pick, I don't know, the one from Lowe's. And the same friend that got me to paint the cabinets pink was like, you're gonna see this oven from every point of your, like every place in your house. You need to pick a pretty stove. It needs to be pretty. I did not realize how expensive a pretty stove is, but it's really small too, because I don't cook. I think if you had a family and we're trying to cook for them every day, this might be a small oven for you, but I did love it. I love brass. It is kind of perfect, and you do see it from everywhere in the house, so it is really important that it look nice. So I do love it. Another thing that, again, I didn't do it, but Katrina thought to do, is she had them put this little marble shelf above my stove, which I love. Just like I have salt and pepper up here, herbs, whatever, olive oil. But it's like a great place to put stuff, so it's not all on your counter, but it's also kind of fun to look at. I mean, it's not styled particularly well right now, but it's fun. I love unlacquered brass. I have unlacquered brass knobs and pulls, and my faucet is from England. It's from a company called Brassna, which we loved. These little heads I bought off of a website called Everything But the House. And they're Bacchus heads, and they're Majolica, which I love. I have a lot of Majolica in my house. But they're just so interesting, and every person I showed that I was buying them to thought I was a little nuts. And then when they went up, they looked so good. And they're paired between plates I already had that I loved, and again, like kind of were a jumping off point for the whole kitchen. Like if you look at the plate, it kind of makes sense how we chose the cabinet color. I always have something big in the middle of the island, whether it be, like these are just Trader Joe's orchids, and I've had these for like a month, but I do like something big and living, also like a focal point as you come in the house, because you can see this directly from the front door. These light fixtures are really fun. I found them last Christmas. I guess I didn't realize I had to buy light fixtures. I wasn't paying attention that I needed light fixtures, and I found them on clearance at Anthropologie. And I get more questions about them. And I'm like, they were like $98 each on clearance. I can't imagine why they're on clearance. Like, they're so what people like right now. But I do love them. They're really fun. I do like to cover all of my walls in art. This wall is a lot of art from New Orleans. There's a lot of great art markets in New Orleans. And so I do buy a bunch of things when I'm there. But the center of this wall, this is a portrait of my mother from 1956. And I stole it out of her house probably 6 months ago. I didn't tell her. She had not yet hung it in her house. And so I took it, and I'm not going to give it back. But it's flanked by these two portraits that my godchildren, Henry and Walter, painted of themselves at an art camp. And I was obsessed with them. And so I took them. You'll see I take a lot of things from people without asking them. But these are very precious to me, and the portrait of my mom is very important to me. But really on this wall, it's just a collection of things. The colors I'm drawn towards, clearly pink, pinks, corals, greens. I'm definitely a maximalist. More is always more. I love to collect things. You know, I have silver trumpet vase collections and china collections and all sorts of things. I like a lot of stuff. I mean, I do. I like things. It's probably bad. You're probably not supposed to say that, but I do. I love things. But yes, I'm definitely a maximalist. There are not many like clean. This is probably the cleanest surface in this house. So this is my dining room. I do love to entertain, so I did set my table for y'all today. I am a hoarder of china and silver. I come back very honestly. Like I've said, my mother is a huge collector. I collect silver trumpet vases. It started with one, and then you get one and you have another, and then people started realizing I loved them, and so people started giving them to me. So the tops of my bookshelves are covered in silver trumpet vases, and then I now have like suddenly gotten onto silver baby cups, and I don't have children, which is so funny. I should start giving away to these children that are all born. The two cloches that are in the tops of the bookcases were my grandmother's, and then my aunt and uncle had them before that, and then when they downsized, my aunt, nobody wanted them. I don't know why. And so I very happily took them from my aunt. And they are, again, very treasured to me because they're from my grandmother's house. But I also think they're really interesting looking. They're They're flowers, so of course I like them. And I just think they're great. This painting behind me, my dad gave me the first Christmas I lived in this house. It's like very in the style of Degas, you know, the ballerinas, which I love. It doesn't necessarily like go perfectly in this room, but that's, again, kind of my motto. I don't really worry about it too much. I love it. I think it belongs in here. On my table, we have a great store in Birmingham called Table Matters, where I buy most of my linens. And I do have a lot of linens. But I love, again, I love china. So I have this great china from Janori, which I love. And then I have my silver. Like my mother gives us a piece of silver every year for Christmas. Like she has since we were very little. We get like a fork or a spoon, and most people probably think that's really weird. But by the time you're 41, you have like a full set of silver without having to try very hard. So I originally had one pattern and then switched it all back in for another pattern in my 20s. So now mine is repoussé, which is this like very, shockingly, very floral pattern. But my forks, I love to mix my silver. My forks are my great-grandmother's. Her name was Mary Cox Brown, hence where my name came from. And they're hers. So that's just fun. I do like to mix things. Like everything doesn't have to match. Clearly nothing in my house like really matches. But I feel like it adds another layer. It adds another story, which makes it fun for people to come to your house because I end up talking about where things are from all the time. This tulip here, I bought from a local store. I love it. It's like a really easy way to arrange flowers and have it be really dramatic. I don't shy away from flowers or color. More is always more. I like a layered table, you know, like a linen, and I want a placemat, then I want a napkin. I want silver, you know, I want a big centerpiece, and then I want little bud vases. I like all of it. And I do think that's what makes a table interesting. If it's, you know, I mean, not that you need to do this every time, but this is what I like to do at my house. On both sides of the doorway are two family crests that my mom had made for everyone in our family. It's my mom's maiden name, and then another, the Leeds family, which is another part of our family. And they're just really special and interesting. My mom had pillows, needlepoint pillows made of them. And then she had a friend of mine paint them for everybody. And then the two things above it are invitations to Mardi Gras balls. This is the invitation the year I made my debut. So it's like my invitation asking me to be a maid in February 3rd of 2005. Wow, that was a long time ago. But I debuted the summer before Hurricane Katrina. So I don't have any pictures from it because my aunt and uncle had the pictures in their house and they have long gone. And so that's like really the only thing I have from that night because the rest of it was lost in Katrina, I guess. You know, I really don't know where those pictures went, but I assume that's where they have gone. But it's super fun. They're really interesting. And they're just, again, like it's a piece of art without having to be a painting. It's something that holds a lot of meaning to me. And it's funny, my mom has all hers framed in her house from all the years she did it. So it's fun to have something. It's funny, and they're hanging in my mother's dining room. So I guess that's why I hang them in here too, because that's the way she did it. This wallpaper, I actually bought from a designer who had too much, but I always had loved it. It's called Wells Abbott Swedenborg Green. It comes in a lot of different colorways, but I loved the green. And the way that we built this in, instead of putting a sideboard in here, we built a sideboard in, which is great because it houses like all my china. I have it all close to me, but I don't have to make sure it's like perfectly arranged all the time. This drawing in the middle is done by a local Birmingham artist, Tony Tully, whose children used to live next door to me. And so we loved it. It was, again, in my parents' house and I stole it. You'll find that that's really a resonating factor in my whole house. The plates on the wall I bought on a trip to Provence a couple of years ago. I loved that oyster plate and really intended it to give it as a gift to my brother-in-law, but then I didn't because it looked so good at my dining room. So I clearly love Majolica and things like that. And like I said, silver trumpet vases. I leave orchids in these all the time because I think it's nice to have something living. I don't always have a centerpiece like this, so it's nice to have something living in here. I think that's important in every room. But really, it's just, everything is a collection of things I just love. Things that have resonated with me, things that I've liked, I've collected over the years. I'm constantly changing things or moving things around. Even like last night, I was moving things around. Not necessarily because y'all were coming, but because I had a great idea of where it should go now. Nothing has to stay where it permanently, it doesn't have to stay permanently where you put it the first time. I did not always want to be a floral designer. I went to Auburn University and taught school for 10 years in the city of Birmingham, and I loved it. If I could do both today, I would still be teaching school and doing flowers, but I got to the point where I started this business kind of as an outlet from teaching school all day, and it grew and grew and grew, and to the point that I couldn't do both things well. So I took a chance. I have a friend that at that time was selling a business and knew exactly what to do and how to help me. And she really pushed me over the edge and said, we're gonna do this. You're gonna start this flower business full time. We do weddings and events. We do about 30 weddings a year. Different events, rehearsal dinners, charity things. So it's not something I really thought I would always do, but as I got into teaching, the more I taught, I realized that that was probably something maybe I couldn't do forever either. So I needed to find something else that was an outlet, and it really evolved from there. But I have always liked to entertain. I've always liked beautiful things and spaces. I always was like the first person to host the birthday party or the baby shower or the wedding shower. So those things have always come very naturally to me. So I guess that's probably where my first love of flowers came from, and entertaining, and it's just kind of been taken to a whole new scale. During COVID, clearly we didn't have any weddings. If we had a wedding, it was for 12 people in a backyard. And so I had a lot of free time on my hands, but also had a lot of people just in the Birmingham community wanting to do something. People wanted to use their hands, they wanted to fill their time, they were really bored, which a lot of us were. And so it started around Christmas. Everyone in Birmingham does their mailboxes for Christmas. It's like a real thing. I don't know that other parts of the country do this, but people decorate their mailboxes. And a friend of mine wanted me to come do it, and I said, I just didn't really want to do it, to be perfectly honest, but I said, if you'll film me doing it, I'll come do your mailbox, so that I can show these other 10 people that want their mailboxes done how to do it, so they'll stop bothering me, essentially. And it kind of took on a life from there. During COVID, I posted a video of me doing a mailbox, and from there somebody wanted me to show them how to do their mantle, and there somebody wanted me to show them how to pot orchids or do, pick up flowers from the grocery store and do it, and it became something that people really liked. They're very long videos, and everybody tells me they're too long. Like, people that do social media are like, I can't believe you put a 12-minute video up of you arranging flowers. But people sit and watch them. And I do think people want to know how to do things for themselves. I think, I always tell people, you're gonna call me to do your child's wedding or do this great party at your house. But when it comes to having people for supper or having your mother-in-law over, you should be able to go to the grocery store, pick up 5 or 6 things, put them together, and create something fabulous for your house. You shouldn't have to call somebody every time you need something like that. This was a non-negotiable. I was dying to have a Dutch door. I've always been envious of people with Dutch doors. So this was one of the first things, probably one of the only things I wanted in my house. And it leads out to my covered porch. I'd say screen porch, but I haven't put the screens in yet because I'm not quite sure I actually want to. This used to be a deck, just a regular deck. And this was part of the redesign of the house, was making this usable space 365 days a year, because my house, again, is like 1,450 square feet. It's nice to have this extension, and really, I do use it every day. I painted the ceilings haint blue because I'm from New Orleans. I have a lot of New Orleans in me, and you paint your ceilings blue outside to get the spirits away. So my ceilings are blue, and I wanted this to be an area where we could sit and eat meals, have meals together, but also where we could sit and watch a football game, which is what we did last weekend. It was important for me to have a dedicated dining space out here. I found these great chairs, again, off the internet. I'm the queen of finding anything on the internet. And just replaced the cushions. They were just a white cushion, and I replaced them with these green and white stripes. Again, it's kind of corals and greens, pinks and greens, but a little more punchy out here than it is inside. This is a piece of art I've had for, I don't know how many years, 20 years maybe. I bought it at a garage sale. You'll notice also I buy a lot of things at garage sales. And I always loved it, but I felt like it was such a great kind of jumping off point for the whole porch. These dahlias are locally grown by Stone Hollow Farms in Birmingham. We're right in the middle of dahlia season here, and they are incredible. So I had to have some this week. The green jars are ginger jars. They're green, they're fabulous. I use them for flowers all the time, but even when I'm not having a home tour, they sit out here and they just sit empty. I just think they're a great kind of grounding piece for this table. This table is like not anything special. I think it's like from Target or something. I had a hard time finding the right table for out here, so I just bought one. But I really have loved it. And we'll move this a lot of times. I'll move it out back or move it over to the side, and we'll put like a mahjong table up and play mahjong out here. It's really fun. This has probably become my favorite spot in the house because it's so different. We didn't have it before. I also wanted there to be another sitting area in my house since my main sitting area, I only have one. So it was important for me to have somewhere comfortable that people could gather. We watch a lot of football games out here, but I also wanted a fireplace. The inside of my house does not have a fireplace. That was something that when it came to redesigning, we went back and forth on, but putting one out here seemed like the most logical, but also the best use of space out here. So I've loved having a fireplace out here. My furniture, I literally stole from my parents' house when my mom moved, and I just had all the cushions recovered. And I clearly like green. So everything is very green out here. My pillows I bought from a lady at Round Top. And again, like, I just buy what I like. This is really bad. I mean, there's really not a rhyme or reason. I love a citrus. I love citrus. I love flowers. I like all the things that everybody else likes. But I guess I'm just not scared to buy them. I just don't think twice about buying it. I buy it and then I find somewhere for it. So these sat in a closet for like 2 years. And then when I moved back in, was like, oh, the perfect place. I'll stick them on my outdoor sofa. And they do. They like really bring everything together. This is my bedroom. The design of this room really started, well, with the curtains, I guess. I knew I was going to have 3 windows in here, and I wanted this wall to almost appear like a whole wall of curtains. And I started with that. Clearly, they're green, and I kind of built off of that. But most of the existing furniture is my existing furniture from my previous house. So it just is filled with, it's just done differently because I changed some fabrics and things like that. I love French style, probably in furniture, probably more than anything French or English. But I bought this cane bed years ago. It's probably one of my big purchases. Like when I was still teaching school, I bought a new bed. It's probably one of my first big purchases, and I love it. I don't shy away from color. Obviously, even in my bedroom, I think most people try to keep their bedrooms a little more serene, but I do clearly still want color in here. I got this pillow years ago from Leontine Linens in New Orleans. They do just incredible embroidery work, I guess is what we call it, applique work. And have just kind of built the bedroom off of those types of things. Again, it's just a lot of collected things I love. Whether it be little pictures of all my little people or my family. This is like a little silver trophy that my grandmother, I think, won like in a tennis championship one year. Again, I stole it from my mother's house. And I have always loved it. And I do tend to keep flowers by my bedside, which is just a little extra. But, you know, it's so fun. But I love like a trinket dish whether it be a silver one or like this little hair-end one, which I love. I mean, again, it's not that it really serves any purpose, but it adds some depth, it adds some dimension. I love my rug. My rug is from this man on Etsy, and he makes them to the size you need. A friend of mine had one in blue, and I coveted it. So when it came time to buy rugs, I had to throw a lot of rugs out after the storm, so I was replacing a lot of things. I really wanted an Ushak. I wanted a wool rug, but I didn't necessarily want it to look like the ones in the rest of the house, which are much more traditional looking. I like the geometric of it with the florals. It's kind of fun. I bought this pink flamingo. My favorite animals are pigs and flamingos, which makes probably no sense to anybody. But I bought this Audubon print at Birmingham. Has an amazing antiques and garden show every fall. And I bought this probably, I don't know, 10 years ago from a lady that sells Audubon prints every year. And it just felt so me. It's kind of lived in a lot of spaces in my house, but mostly it's always lived in a bedroom. And it's so fun and bright. I just think it kind of encapsulates my house pretty well. All the colors in it. This is my primary bathroom. We actually added this bathroom. It didn't exist. This is actually where my kitchen was, I think. And this is one of the big changes we made to have a real, true primary bathroom in this house. I added the wallpaper, which is Chelsea Textiles Wisteria, which I love. I like how small the print is. I have a lot of bigger prints in wallpaper, so this one feels a little more delicate. I used just the same marble that I have in the kitchen. We bought 2 or maybe even 3 slabs of it and used it in all the bathrooms too. I just didn't want to overcomplicate things. I painted the trim and the cabinets the same color that you'll find in the paper, which I thought was really fun. I don't have a ton of wall space in here, so I don't have a lot of art hung, but I don't need to. I also don't have like traditional towel bars and things like that because I didn't really want to junk up the walls too much. We built this great big shower, which was awesome. And then on my counters and here I have these fun sconces from Pookie Lighting. It's a British company that I just think are a little fun. I mean, I could have picked a plain sconce, but again, like why pick a plain one when you can get one that's a hand holding a torch? And then I found this mirror at Anthropology again. I think that's where it's from. But again, it just like looked so fun. I had, you know, gone in other people's houses and they have beautiful, just standard gold mirrors. But that, again, that just didn't seem quite like me. I needed something that had like a little more flair to it. So that was kind of how we arrived at it. But I like it to feel layered. Like I've said, I want something living in every room. So I do keep flowers here a lot. I do keep an orchid here. I use like a little, this is like a random little dish I found probably at a thrift store or a estate sale, but I use it as my soap container just for something fun. I don't have traditional bath mats. I use little Ushak rugs in all my bathrooms. I don't like a traditional bath mat. This is my twin guest room where all the children stay. I wanted twin beds in here because the house isn't that big. And I find that people don't like to share a double or a queen bed. But when you have twins, you know, you can have more people. The starting off point of this room was the twin beds, which there's a real story here that I stole them from my friend Reagan, one of my best friends, Reagan. They were downsizing and moving, and I had always loved these beds they had in one of their guest bedrooms. And so I just asked her what was happening to the twin beds, and she said she didn't know, and so I took them. I bought them. I did buy them from her. And I just think they're so fun. They're comfortable, but they're unique, and they really give you a huge point of interest when you come in. I knew didn't want curtains in this room because of the way I was going to have to place the beds up against the walls. The windows are kind of an odd placement, and so I knew I wasn't going to be able to put the twin beds right next to each other. So I knew I wanted Roman shades. And I had a lady on Etsy make these. These are Sister Parish Dolly. And I was very particular about how they had to be made. I wanted a scallop at the bottom. But again, I wanted a blue because there is so much pink in here. I kind of wanted a blue, which I think is great. It's really a mix of fabrics, things that I already had, like the €2 I had on an existing queen bed in the old house. And I just split them apart and put them on here. But I think they really add some depth and pattern. This rooster was a gift from my father. He likes to buy art as Christmas presents, which is a wonderful thing. And this rooster has lived in all portions of my house. He's lived in the hallway. He lived in the kitchen at one point. And he's just really fun. I love him. And he ends up being kind of a focal point as you walk in. You know, he's loud and proud and in charge. Other than that, the art in this room is just a real mix of either gifts from people or things that I've collected over the years. I have like a framed invitation from our ballet guild, our Ball of Roses. I chaired it one year and a friend framed the invitation for me, which is like such a kind gift. And then underneath it, a friend was painting and she painted a flower arrangement that I'd done and then she sent it to me, which I love. And then just some of the other stuff is just things I've collected. I love this old cross stitch. It's the Lord's Prayer that I found at a French flea market. And it's really fun and it's very, very old, you can tell. But like amazing. I'm too scared to even have it reframed because I'm afraid when you open it up, it'll just crumble. This chest is so funny. It's from Wayfair. It looks like so special. I love it because it feels like it's custom. And it's got the pelicans flying on the front of it, but it was kind of the perfect match. I'd had like a smaller table in here, and it just needed a bigger piece of furniture here. And also, like, I need the storage. My house is not big and I have a lot of things. So I needed storage. I needed another chest. So this is a really fun one. It was a great find. I was not expecting to find it on Wayfair, but it was. It's really fun. Okay, this is my hallway bathroom. The showstopper of this room is the wallpaper. It's by a company called Elliston House, which one of the girls that runs, or whose company this is, I taught Bible study to growing up. She's from Birmingham. And so kindly, I had wanted some paper for a long time. And then when I started to redo the house, was like, we have to send you some. I want you to have it. And so she let me pick out whatever I wanted, which was so great. But it's so wonderful to have her things in my house because I've known her for so long. This paper is called Meadow by Elliston House, and it is so special. I really haven't even put a piece of art on the wall in here because the paper is art. It's so great. We did a pedestal sink in here instead of something with a cabinet just because it's not that long. It's not that big of a bathroom. And instead of putting a linen closet back in this bathroom, behind this door, we built out like a full armoire that's in the bathroom. You can't see it right now, but which is great. So I didn't need any more storage because I have a ton of storage over here now. But I think it like allows for the bathroom to feel a little more open since it's so narrow. My sconces are from Amazon, which just goes to show that you can buy a sconce off Amazon if you put a nice shade on it. It suddenly looks expensive. This valance, again, ordered. I have this lady on Etsy who will kind of makes you what you want. And she made it for me and I measured incorrectly. No one's surprised that knows me that I measured incorrectly. And it was too short. And so I bought some trim off Amazon and sewed it on the bottom so that it would be long enough. Just goes to show you can like fix your mistakes when you're really bad at measuring like I am. But I also think it adds like such texture. It's kind of a happy mistake. I'm glad it actually turned out that way. The best compliment that someone can give me about my home, I've already received, and it's that it's so you. Every time someone walks in, oh my gosh, I'd know who lived here if you weren't standing at the door. Like, it does. It feels like me. It looks like me. It looks like the way I dress. It's very indicative of who I am. Home to me is somewhere that you belong. Having not lived in my home for 2 years, I felt really displaced. I lived in a shoebox apartment with half my things, and the minute I moved back in, literally the boxes were still filled, nothing was really out, but I felt like I was at home. I felt like I was back with my things, where I was comfortable. It really does a number on you to be displaced for a long period of time. So home is where I belong. It's a place that I feel comfortable, but not only I feel comfortable, all the people in my life feel comfortable. I have 17 godchildren that a lot of them spend a lot of time here, and each one of them has been so happy that I'm back home. They'll come in the door and be like, oh, they call me Nene. Nene, I love it. Like, I love being here. And I think that's like a true testament to what home is. It's somewhere that you feel comfortable, but also the people you love feel comfortable.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.